I bet you didn't expect to see our beautiful faces tonight. It is a special episode on a very special episode of Horror Movie Massacre. We find out what movies that we think are underrated based on, well, their sequels. So we kind of talked about this the other night and decided to do a show. We do the franchise shows, which are great, but sometimes we just got the itch to talk about something else. And the Horror Syndicate was built on trying to get people to watch, step out of the comfort zone, and watch other movies. And so tonight, Seth and I, we got three movies apiece that we think are underrated horror movies. And for the most part, we try to stay as far away from like the big franchises like Halloween or Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, even Texas Chainsaw Massacre as we could, because I feel like those are kind of obvious, and we'll circle back around to those if we do another one of these shows. And one of them, I mean, they are kind of more well known, but we definitely will get to like I think Elm Street 2 is underrated. A lot of people don't seem to like that one. I love it. I think Seth likes it as well. I think we both think Halloween 6 is a bad movie, but we think it's underrated as well. So we'll circle back around to some of those. But tonight we've got three each. He picked three, I picked three, and we're gonna kind of talk about each movie as we go. And we may not agree on both. Seth, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing pretty good. And I just want to say to anyone who's listening now or who will in the future, when we do get to my list, I just want to reassure everyone that I do not smoke crack or meth. Just want to
And
point
I,
that out.
I also want to reassure everyone and let them know that marsupials is not on this list tonight. So,
It was almost there. No.
right, I mentioned it. And the way that this idea came about was, I don't know if anybody saw the horrorsyndicate.com today. I released a article that I wrote I've been doing this whole series of underrated horror movie articles, and I did one on Hellraiser 3 today because I like Hellraiser 3. I don't think it killed the franchise. I believe Bloodline did, even though I like Bloodline too, because anything after Bloodline went direct to video, and some of them weren't even Hellraiser movies to begin with. We'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, so I was like, I was watching it and doing the review or the article, and I was like, it's like that's what we should talk about tonight because we're going to do something tonight anyway. Also, if you hit the like button, that helps spread the message. If you hit the subscribe button on YouTube, that would be great because we love getting you new subscribers in here and talking some horror. Because the Horror Syndicate, we really try to be as interactive as possible. So we want to hear from you, your thoughts on the movies, what movies you think are underrated. We already have some comments already. Psycho 3, Return to Salem's Lot, which I've never seen. Return to Salem's Lot. I love
Oh,
the
really?
miniseries. Yeah, I have it actually, but I've never seen it. So definitely gonna have to watch that one. Um, Sean, we'll miss you tonight, buddy, but hopefully you'll enjoy the show afterwards. Dracula 80. So this one was gonna be one of my picks. I'm a huge fan of the Hammer Dracula movies, and I don't know why I love this movie so much, but I do. And a lot of it has to do with the beginning of the movie, the weird like party where all of a sudden they start singing. Like, did that happen in the 70s for real? Like, and of course Christopher Lee shines as Dracula. How you doing? How you doing? Vaughn, I don't know how to say your name. Good to see. It's been a while since you've been here. We're long past Scream, so yeah, yeah. I just found that out right before the show. Richard Mall, aka Big Ben from House, passed away today, I guess. Elm Street 2. I love Elm Street 2. Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 are both underrated. Psycho 4, I agree with that 100%. I can't speak on Prom Night 4, though, because I've never seen that one. I've seen the third one. But yeah, I agree 100%. 100%. Here he is. Jordan Walsh. Hellraiser 3 was a lower grade, but still good. And Bloodline was good. I like Bloodline is good. I think the first four are solid. Maybe even the first five or six. So I like Hellseeker too, and we'll get to Inferno, but yeah, Prom Night 4. I have to watch that one because the third one was a big letdown. Because Prom Night 2 is really good, not underrated. I'd say it's actually really good. So, Seth, when you started thinking about the movies, like where did your mind go immediately? Because I already had Hell's like one of them. Just spoiler: it's Hellraiser 3. I already had that in the barrel ready to go, so I had two more to pick from, and I let you pick before I even showed my answers. Like, yeah, where'd your mind? Because you forgot one, like initially.
I did. I did forget one because when I was trying to come up with my list, I was at work. So,
Yeah.
and I was like, I had a lot of different tasks than normal today. So, like, I was trying to do like all the stuff that I was supposed to do while trying to I'm trying to visualize my movie collection.
Yeah.
There is one movie on this list that I knew from the get go, and that is my number three pick. Um,
Yep.
because actually I started writing an article about it because I was supposed to have an article for Werewolf Wednesday, and I worked on it, and I just never got to complete it. But I will go over my thoughts on why I think I'll go over some of my thoughts on that film when we get to that one. And again, I do not smoke crack or meth.
No. I think you have valid movies in your little lineup. And again, we picked three. We're gonna go back and forth. Seth will start, then I'll go, then he'll go, then you know how it goes. And then that's the show. And we'll talk about the movie a little bit, why we like it, why we think it's underrated, and yeah, and we want to hear from you as well. When we drop the movie, we want to know what you think. If you think it's garbage, cool. Tell us why though. Don't just say it's garbage. If you that's this is advice for commenting anywhere. If you think something's bad, explain. If you like something, explain. Because people just say trash. Why? Why is it trash? Anyway,
Yeah,
so first up, Seth, are you ready for this?
yeah. Let's go.
Okay, before that, I want to make sure everybody tunes in on Tuesday when we do our Halloween 13 movies, all the entire franchise ranking. You'll get Seth's personal list, his slash score list, my personal list, my slash score list, and the list that of the what I'm doing now. So I started with the 2018 Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends movies, and by Friday or by Tuesday, we'll have all 13 rated 5 star, and that updated list will be the Horror Syndicate's followers list. So we'll show that off too on Tuesday. Going to be a fun episode. We're going about 9 p.m. Central Time, I think. No, we're going later than that, aren't we? 9:30 maybe. No, 9 p.m. Central Time. Sorry, not nine. I mean, we're going at some point. Just follow us.
Yeah, it'll be like 10 o'clock. It'll be like 10 o'clock my time.
Yeah, because my kids trick or treat, and I got to steal their candy if you know what I mean. So anyway,
Well,
hit
that
the like button,
counts.
please. Share all that good stuff. Are you kids going trick or treating?
Yeah.
What are they dressing as?
To be honest with you, I don't know. They haven't really asked. Well, actually, I talked to Violet the other night, and she was saying something about some character from some show or something she watches. I forget what it was. Um, and I haven't heard anything from my oldest, but
Mm.
um,
Yeah, I keep
I
wondering if
know
this
this
is
is gonna
going
be the
to.
last. This is gonna be the last year. This is gonna
Yep.
be the last year I'm taking them out.
Mm.
Because they are getting older now. They're both teenagers. My oldest is a freshman in high school, which is weird.
So is mine.
So yeah, but I've enjoyed the last couple of years. We go to a certain neighborhood
Mm.
in town where the people there just they go all out, and there's
Yeah,
just it's just a fun time. So I just want to take them out one last time before
yeah.
they do their own team stuff.
I feel like this might be my son. He's a freshman too. I think this might be his last year. I'm not 100% sure. He's going as Ghostface again. That's the second time he did that. I don't know, like 7 or 8 years ago. And then my daughter
But
is
which
going.
one?
Oh, Roman, because I when he took the mask off, I was wearing the suit. I was like, "You look just like fucking Roman from Scream 3." Uh, I don't know. He would tell you Billy probably because he kind of does got a little Billy Loomis thing going on there. He's creepy. Tell me that doesn't look like a serial killer. But and then my daughter's going as a female version of Beetlejuice. So yeah, should be fun. Halloween's always a good time, and I get all of the the Reese's Pieces. So yeah, there's something else I get all of. It doesn't matter anyway. So anyway, let's get moving on this. Again, we're glad to have everybody here. If you're watching after, please don't be afraid to comment. We still check out the comments after the fact. So I'm sure we'll get a slew from Sean on the after show. So Seth's up first, and the first one on his list, I believe he wanted to go with was Psycho 3. Why did you choose Psycho 3? Uh-oh. Did Seth freeze? That's true. So I think Seth froze. Seth, you there? Say something. You were fine a
Can
minute
you hear me?
ago. Yeah, I can hear you. You were fine a minute ago. Then I said Psycho 3 and you froze. So you want to go for it? Go for it. Psycho 3.
It's weird because I was just thinking about how smoothly this was going at at first.
And then I had to bring up a picture.
Yeah. So Psycho 3. Yeah. Um, so originally I was going to go with Psycho 2, but then I got thinking, to my recollection, I don't think I've ever seen any bad comment about Psycho 2. I think
No.
that one does get a lot of love. So I went next in line with Psycho 3 because I think Psycho 3 is a very good continuation of Psycho 2. And also Anthony Perkins, doing double duty as actor and as director. He also brought back some Hitchcock sensibilities to the filmmaking. And honestly, the first four Psycho movies are all really solid. The fourth one is probably my least favorite, but I think all four are really good and really underappreciated, especially three. I think there's a lot of really good stuff with three. I think obviously Anthony Perkins is just amazing as Norman, and there's something fun about it. The way that it's the way that he took from Hitchcock with the way he shot certain things, the way he set up certain scenes of suspense. I mean the whole thing with the cop taking the ice cubes from the thing,
Mm-hmm.
with there being a body in there, like that's always it's always a standout, memorable thing. So yeah, I've always loved Cycle 3. I don't think it's quite as good as 1 or 2, but I think it is. I think it's a movie that deserves more recognition. I think the whole series does. I mean, the only one that's not great is the remake, which was experimental in the idea of doing a shot for shot remake. But I mean, between the four films and then you got the TV series Bates Motel, which I haven't finished yet, but I loved everything I saw of it. But yeah, just Psycho 3 was my first pick because originally, as I said, I was going to go with Psycho 2, but I think everyone does love that film. And I think Psycho 3 is a good continuation.
Psycho 2 is really good. And Tom Holland's the director of that one, right? Did he direct that or just write it? I can't remember. I think he directed it.
He just wrote it.
Okay.
He
Who
just
directed
wrote
it? Joe Dante? No. Who directed the third one, or the second movie?
I forget who directed it.
I'm looking it up. But yeah, Psycho 3 is actually pretty damn good. It was kind of surprising. I remember watching it when I was a kid. This is the one with the nun, right? And Jeff Fahey,
Yeah.
and that scene and the
Yes.
fucking in that scene in the hotel room where he's got the lamp by his dick, and it's just it's this is probably the
Yeah,
most batshit crazy of all three, all five of them or whatever. Um, yeah,
yeah.
on
The
one of the
only
few.
thing.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, go on. No, go on.
I was gonna say I would like to do the beginning on a future episode. I really like that movie.
Yeah. I th- what I was gonna say was the only thing I didn't care for with part three is they kind of went back on the twist from part two
Hmm.
with the lady who showed up at the end claiming
Yeah,
to be his real
your
mother.
mom.
They
Yeah,
kind of they just kind of disregarded that. They just kind of went like so it kind of made that because I thought I mean one of the things one of my favorite moments in any horror movie really is the whole ending of Psycho 2 when she shows up. That whole sequence is fucking amazing. Um, and I
yes, it
felt
is.
like by kind of taking it back, they kind of ruined that.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the only misstep, but overall it's pretty fun, and I it's streaming on Peacock. If
Oh
you've
yeah,
never seen it, it's a fun addition to the Psycho franchise, in my opinion.
yeah.
So that's our first one. So if you haven't seen Psycho 3, check it out. Make sure you watch the second one first, because the second one really is good. Nothing's going to beat the original, of course, but it's a solid franchise, wouldn't you say? Like 1 through 4, it's pretty solid for the most part. I really enjoy
Mm.
4 because it's kind of an origin story told by flashback, and he's still dealing with these demons when he finds out his wife, who would marry, fucking Norman Bates, is beyond me, but that she's pregnant and he can't. I think it's a really good. I think that one. I should even put that on there. It's a really underrated movie.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, part four is it's probably the best Mick Garris directed thing I've seen.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I grew up I mean I grew up with Psycho 4, like I watched that a lot as a kid. So there's like a nostalgia factor with me. Um but yeah, I think yeah, I totally agree. I think Psycho the whole franchise is very solid. The only weak one again is that remake.
yeah. Reanimator sequels. I like both of them a lot, and I think Bride of Reanimator is held in high regard. I'm not sure of how people feel about Beyond Reanimator. That's one I don't visit very often. I'm not sure if you've seen either one of those, Seth. Have you?
Oh dude, I've seen the sequels but like 20 years ago. So I
Yeah,
couldn't tell you anything about them.
yeah. I mean, we
But
may
I own them
circle.
now. So
Yeah. Oh, you do. There you go. So we might circle back around to that because Bride is good. It's not as good as the original movie, but it's good, and Beyond is. I remember it not being bad, but I think there's a disconnect because there's a good 10 to 15 years between Bride and Beyond. But I like all three of them, to be honest. Bride is just fucking insane. Dr. Hill has fucking wings. What?
I just it just occurred to me how hilarious it was that Reanimator got brought up while we're talking about Psycho because of
That's true.
the
Yeah,
music.
the theme.
The,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
yeah
That's funny. Yeah,
yeah
so I got to see Reanimator in the theater this year, and it was weird because they showed the integral cut, which takes out a lot of it changes things around a little bit, and in Barbara Crampton's there's less boobs. I don't want that. But anyway, so my son went with me to see it for the first time, and he's like, "Where? I've heard this before." I'm like, "Yeah, it's essentially Psycho." He's like, "I like this better, though." I'm like, "Yeah, I think I might too." I don't know. It's whatever.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, it's like it's like the Psycho score, but with like more of like a hard edge to it. You know.
yeah, got a little synth to it. I'm gonna say that everyone hates Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. This movie went off the rails. It depends on which cut you're talking about, because uh, there are people who just love the director's cut, absolutely love it, and then there are people who just hate the theatrical cut. So it really depends. That one's I don't like it very much. Seth seems to like it okay. Nate loves it, and I think Keith, or one of our old people, he's not old, he's the youngest actually. He loves it. So I don't know. It's hard to say it's underrated. I think for the most part, the populace, we just rated it. I think it had like a 41%. So I don't think it's underrated because most people think it's dog shit, and it is. No, I don't know.
Well, that's why he's saying it's underrated though,
Yeah, I know.
is because everyone seems to hate it, but there are good qualities to it. It's just I like it more than you do.
Yeah.
I don't overly love it, but I think it does have some qualities that people kind of overlook
Hmm.
in terms with. I mean, we did a whole show on the Rob Zombie films, but like the psychology of the characters, and he just he did something different.
And that's fine. I'm just not a fan of it.
But I'm
Like I
not going to die
tried
on a
liking
hill
it.
for helping to.
Right, I wouldn't either. I tried liking it. You know that I did, but I don't care for it. And
Mhm.
it's there's a lot of good things, like good scenes with, and we did to do a whole show on it. So we're not gonna go back into it. It's if you think it's underrated, cool. I don't, because I think it's terrible. Um, I don't. I think the Psycho remake was probably the most unnecessary movie of all time. I was not a fan of any of Zombies Halloween. Which of the four? Only part about two. Okay. Yeah, we did do a whole show on the Rob Zombie Halloween films. Um, so moving on to my first one, if we can. It's kind of a well-known movie, Poltergeist 2: The Other Side. Uh, I thought people liked this movie coming into the horror world. I was wrong. Like, people shit on this movie, and I'm not quite sure why. Like, we still follow the Freeling family and Carol Ann and all that stuff. And we see that she does have some kind of powers, some kind of psychic power or whatever. And so did the grandmother. But there are some fucking stone cold, badass, creepy motherfucking performances in this movie alone. Craig T. Nelson, to start, when he gets drunk and he's basically being possessed by Kane, who I'll get to in a second, Julian Beck. He fucking is frightening in that moment. And he of course pukes up the little half Kane, whatever that is, who crawls around out of the room. It's all slimy and shit. And then Julian Beck, who's literally dying while making the movie, puts in this final performance of his career, and it's a masterclass in acting. He is awesome in this movie. He is every bit of scary, terrifying in this movie. And the most like memorable thing about Poltergeist 2 is Julian Beck and how creepy and fucking scary he is as Kane. And he looked like a really nice old man, but Jesus Christ. Like when he and Craig T. Nelson are talking to each other through the door, like he dude, he goes off, and then there's the scenes in the cave when they're all dying and they're all like praying by his feet, and it's such a good movie to me, and I don't understand why people don't like it. And I love the Freeling family overall from the first movie. Me like you. What do you think? You're not a fan of these movies, are you? The Poltergeist movies.
Well, I like the first one. I grew up with the first one a lot, and uh, it's still fun. It was one of the first horror movies I showed to my kids. Um,
Which is the perfect to do that with
the
too.
sequels I have not. Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. Oh, definitely. And every time I do watch the original, which I don't go to very often, but when I do, I love it every time. But the sequels I have not seen in a very, very, very long time. So if I watched them again, um, anytime soon, they'd probably be like it would be like getting my virginity back. It'd just be like the first time all over again.
You should definitely watch them and let me know what you think, because The third one's not great, and I understand that. And there are things I like about it. I like the change of scenery. It's a shame that they finished the movie because Heather O'Rourke passed away, I believe, during filming, and it's just okay. You know, they're like they lose a lot, and it's just some of the things are very odd in that movie with the mirrors, and also Julian Beck wasn't back, and they really did a poor job of replacing him. But yeah, I think two is a great extension of the first movie. Of course, it's a couple years later. They don't live in the house anymore in Cuesta Verde. They do go back to the property, which is it's totally gone, of course, because it disappeared in the first movie. But yeah, check it out again. I like it. It's not really streaming for free. You have to have like a an add-on to any service, but
Yeah.
it's definitely worth checking out. I love it. I fucking love it. Yeah, I agree with that, Brian, 100%. Hey, I miss having you writing for the Horror Syndicate, by the way. I see your articles a lot, and I was like, man, he should come back. Uh, yeah, that's absolutely. God is in His holy temple. We want the angel. Oh, I do that with my daughter sometimes because she loves the Poltergeist movies. And when I showed them to her, she was probably 7 or 8. And I'll never forget. She's laying on the love seat, has a blanket over her whole face like this, watching with just her eyes peeking out, watching all three of those movies because I think they had an effect on her. So yeah, I love the Poltergeist movies very much. Overall, I'm going to be honest, and I'm not going to sit here and say it's good, but I don't think I'm not to say it's underrated either, but I don't think the remake is as bad as everybody says it is. It's not that great, but it's not terrible. That's my opinion. Do with it what you will. You ready for this, Seth?
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna fall asleep. Hell,
Yep. So not one that most people stick up for. Um, I've always loved Hellraiser Inferno. So here's the thing with me, with how I'm a huge Hellraiser fan. Absolutely love and adore the whole series, even the bad ones. Okay, um, I'm not gonna apologize for it. I love the Hellraiser franchise. Now, the first two are the gold standard, and the thing with Hellraiser is that Pinhead, the Hell Priest, and the Cenobites were not the lead antagonists; they were the consequence. Now,
Mhm.
when by the time you get to the third and the fourth films, they became very focused on the Cenobites, and it sort of in a certain way, it sort of kind of I feel like it kind of ruined what the whole idea is. And so by the time they get back to the fifth one, by the time they get back to it with the fifth one with Inferno, um, they do a more story and character oriented film about someone who is morally corrupt, and you have that with Detective Joseph Thorne. He is a very unlikable character. He's a douchebag. He blackmails his partner. He cheats on his wife with prostitutes. He's just a morally corrupt guy. And the Cenobites are kind of in the background. I mean, Pinhead has probably a little less screen time in this film than he did in the original.
Mhm. I
Um,
think it's the movie with the least amount of screen time.
yeah. Now I understand too the whole thing. Inferno, Hellseeker, Deader, and Hellworld were all completely different scripts that were sort of turned into Hellraiser scripts.
Hmm.
So they don't have the Hellraiser. They don't quite have that Hellraiser vibe. And another something I consider to be a negative actually with this one is the fact that they don't have the Christopher Young theme accompanying it. But what I do like about it is how, because I love Bloodline. I'm kind of warming up to part three. But what I appreciated about Inferno is the fact that they went back to the basics of the Hellbound Heart. And I think in that regard, I think they did very well. Of course, there are goofy stuff with it, like the Hell Priest is a little preachy. The overall idea of it is a little preachy, where it's sort of the Hell Priest and the Cenobites are judging Joseph based on his sins. It's weird. There's the whole thing with the ninja cowboys randomly in the woods. It's weird, but I think there's a really unique. Um, I think visually, it's really cool. I know another complaint I see is it's kind of a little too much like Jacob's Ladder.
I
But
never thought about
you
that.
know, yeah, but I mean, Scott Derrickson, I think, did very well with delivering a very uncomfortable horror movie about a very unlikable character, intentionally so. And I felt like that's very Clive Barker to have a character as douchey as Joseph Thorne being sort of the lead. It's kind of like it goes back to Frank and Julia. I mean, they're the true antagonist and the lead characters of the original, in my opinion. So I know I'm probably going to be on an island with this one because Inferno is considered to be the beginning of the end, and being a direct-to-video movie, being a movie that started off as a script that wasn't Hellraiser, um, all those things factor in, and plus the less screen time for the Hell Priest and the Cenobites, which has agitated people as because 3 and 4 kind of spoiled people with being very Cenobite centric. So it was a bold move to go in that direction. But I actually really enjoy it. I think it's a movie that I have fun rewatching. It's one of my favorites in the series.
And I think
Not
that
my.
go ahead. I'll let me
I
finish
was
my
gonna
thought real
say just
quick. I think
go
this would
ahead.
be a
Go
really
ahead.
good. This is like Halloween Ends in a way to me. This would be a good horror movie if they wouldn't have even added Pinhead into the movie. They didn't. I don't think they needed to add the Cenobites because this was a good horror movie, a good kind of mystery, you know. And then they add Pinhead into it, and it makes it a Hellraiser movie. Now I don't not like this movie, but like actually I do think it's in the top five. Not well, not now because 2022 is pretty good. But I don't hate this movie. Just it like knowing what's going to happen. The first time you watch, you're like, "Damn, this isn't bad." But the second time, third time, it's like, okay,
I kind of like the way everything kind of ties around at the end, and that he's spoiler alert in a loop in his own
yeah,
hell. Um, and Craig, what's his name? Is it Craig Sheffer?
Shepard, yeah,
Yeah, um, who's also in Clive Barker's Nightbreed. He does very well playing this character. Like he's such a douchebag, but like when stuff starts happening towards the end, I still kind of like him. I don't know what it says about me. Um,
he's
but
got kind of a punchable face.
yeah, yeah, and a punchable attitude. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I understand why people don't like this movie. I get it. Um, just my own personal opinion. I just kind of prefer the Cenobites not being front and center. So that's what I kind of appreciate about this, where it does kind of go back to Clive's story to a certain degree, with it being about someone who opened the box,
yeah, which is
someone who fucked
Hellseeker.
around and found out.
Yeah, exactly, and which
Yeah,
Hellseeker is kind of the same thing. Um, And it's got its place, but I know you like it quite. My brother-in-law actually loves it too, quite a bit. Like we were watching all through 'em a couple years ago, and he's like, "Did you watch Inferno yet?" I was like, "I've seen it." He's like, "It's really good." I'm like, "Really?" And I rewatched. I was like, "Okay, I can see where it has its merits." But I want to remind everybody to subscribe to the Horror Syndicate on YouTube and check out the Facebook page. We are doing 5-star ratings on all the Halloween movies the next few days. Tomorrow, Rob Zombie. No, today was Rob Zombie. Tomorrow will be Resurrection and H2O. Sunday will be 3, 4, and 5, and then on Monday it'll be John Carpenter's Halloween and the anniversary of Halloween 2. By the way, Seth, the anniversary of another underrated horror movie is today. Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, which is not on our list today. Underrated. That'll be on one of the future episodes.
I missed a bunch of that because I lost connection for a second there.
That's okay. Um, I was reading this comment. I like we both liked Hellraiser
Okay.
2022. Yeah, we both liked that one. I liked it quite a bit actually.
Yeah.
Um, we did a whole show on
Yeah.
that actually last year, but we couldn't say spoilers. So we'll be doing Hellraiser next year and on the regular show on our Wednesday show, and we'll go through each and every single Hellraiser movie. So that one will come up coming up. But I was telling them that another movie has its anniversary today, Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, which I think is underrated, which might be on one of the next episodes that we do if we do this again. Uh, so
Yeah.
Hellraiser 3 is my next pick. And this is the reason we're having this conversation today. I really like this movie. Seth, you don't like this one as much. Am I wrong?
Well, it's grown on me. I can say that since the ranking that I wrote in 2019, it has jumped up a couple of spots. I think the first 2/3 of the movie are pretty solid. It really
Mm.
falls apart in the third act for me. So, go on, explain.
At what
Explain
point, though,
yourself.
does it fall apart for you?
um, I would say especially when the Hell Priest is making more Cenobites, which apparently he can just do anywhere, and fuck Leviathan. Um,
Hey, one of them has CDs all in his head, and Doc has a camera.
there's yeah, it's that's goofy, and like there's things that I don't want to I don't want to take away from this. Is your pick, so I don't want to take away from your pick. If you
No, but
want
I
to
want to hear this because I haven't heard
talk
it
about it
before.
first, and then I can.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, it's very Cenobite centric. Now, there's things that I like about it. Like, I like the idea of Elliot Spencer and the Hell Priest being separate
Separate. Yeah.
entities, and I think that's handled very well. And with, especially with the Hell Priest being in that pillar that we saw from the end of part two, and then the whole idea of uh, Pinhead getting resurrection by getting JP to feed him, it
Hmm.
very much mirrors Frank and Julia. I think that's a really cool aspect of it. I think Doug Bradley, this is his finest performance in the series.
This
I
movie.
mean, he's absolutely amazing in this. In yeah, and especially with having the dual roles where he gets to play
Hmm.
Elliot Spencer, who seems reasonable, and then playing the Hell Priest, but a version of him that's totally devoid of the human side. So that's a lot of fun. I actually do like the main character in it. Um, I forget her
Joey.
name. The Joey. Yep. And I think I think the score is pretty good. Directions all right, but it's just really to me, it just got to the point where it just kind of forgot what Hellraiser was supposed to be, which is, in my opinion, based on the Hellbound Heart, based on the first two movies, um, it's supposed to be about. I mean, what the Hellbound Heart refers to is the person who seeks the box. It's not about the Cenobites, and I feel like they were really catering to the whole '80s slasher phenomenon, and they were trying to make the Cenobites slasher icons. And I think
Yeah,
that's what really kind of brings it down for me. But
and
hypocritically speaking, I love Bloodline, which is also Cenobite centric. So fuck me.
yes, yeah. I mean, it's hard to deny the power of the Cenobite. They're so cool looking and kind of and terrifying. You know, you want to see them. And it's like I feel like
Yeah,
Hellraiser and Child's Play were both late to the party because they came out at the tail end of the big boom of the '80s.
yeah,
And like I was when I was writing my review and watching, I was like, man, this would have been perfect. It would have came out in 1989, right at the end, because it would
yeah,
have fit right into all those other movies. But no, it came out a couple years too late. Kind of like Child's Play 3 in a way. I like Child's Play 3, but you know, this it's funny. This movie, Child's Play 3 and Return of the Living Dead 3, all kind of have the same vibe in a way to me, and they're all the third movie. But the things I like about this, and this probably goes back to what Nate said about how a lot of us horror fans do get caught up in nostalgia. And this was the first Hellraiser I ever saw, and I thought it rocked. But I didn't know anything about the Hellbound Heart. I wasn't the Clive Barker scholar you are. Just saying. Um,
I
and
wouldn't say I'm quite the
and
scholar, but
well, you've read his stuff, but you know, like I love what they did with the first two Hellraisers, and I don't feel like this was the next logical step or anything like that. But I kind of took it at face value. I saw you could see what they're doing with this. They saw just they didn't know that Freddy was the franchise when they made A Nightmare on Elm Street, and that's why they had to get England back. Well, they knew that Pinhead was going to be the crux, or as you keep saying, the Hell Priest is he's the draw. People are coming to see him, and so they gave him a movie. You know, basically,
yeah,
this was all Pinhead, and yeah, the Pillar is awesome. By the way, that's one of my favorite things about this movie, and with him getting JP to feed him, and I really like that. I do like Joey. I like the scene where she's watching the tapes of Kirsty, and you see Elliot Spencer, she's right. You know that there's some cool stuff in this movie, and there's some really bad stuff in this movie. I mentioned in my article, and I told you earlier, I was like watching it. Some of the dialogue is so bad and so stiff. It reminds me of Italian horror dialogue that's been dubbed. Doc and JP are really bad about that. Their voices don't match their face, and it
yeah,
sounds like they're extremely dubbed, and it's very wooden. But and yeah, the Cenobites are kind of cheesy, but I like them. You know, they're it's straight up. You can't do that now. 1992. It's like 1992 called. Here's your CD Cenobite. But I like JP as a Cenobite and his girlfriend. They look really cool. But this also they what they were doing is trying to set a franchise up with this one because I don't know that after
yeah,
I mean we're 4 years between Hellbound and Hell on Earth, and I don't know that they thought that they were going to have a franchise on their hand because by the end of this movie, the lament configuration is basically tossed into some concrete, and we see the building that sets up Bloodline essentially, which I also really like. That I think that's really cool. That the lament configuration took on another shape essentially. Uh, well, at least that's what you're supposed to think. I think, but I don't know. I just like this movie. It's fun. It's crazy. There's some of the best Pinhead one-liners are in this movie. You know, there's that scene with him and Joey, and she's she calls him like an ugly fucker or something like that, and he just kind of laughs it off. And of course, the great line, you know, he spreads his "I am the way." I fucking love that shit. Like that's I eat that for fucking dinner. You know, so I like this quite a bit. I wrote a whole article about it, and I understand that it's not. I That's the thing when I know that a movie, I think a movie is underrated. I also do know that it's bad. Return of the Living Dead 3 is not a good movie overall, but I like it. I think that people should take a second look or a third look at some of these movies. Inferno, I'm going to rewatch it, and I'm going to give it another fair shake. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with this a little bit. Uh, this movie made me want to live above a club.
I'll be right back, man.
Okay, that's cool because my next one, the next one's mine, and then we're gonna go to your last one. Uh,
Okay.
but yeah, I like Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. It's just fun. There's some good stuff in it, and it is Doug Bradley's movie as Pinhead or the Hell Priest. So I think it's better than people give it credit for, especially with some of the shit that came after. And I'm talking about Hell World and uh, Revelations. I do like Judgment. There's one I'm missing. Hell, what is the one that came out the same year as Hell World? Because they released two in 1 year in 2005. But anyway, Evil gets an upgrade. That's what the tagline was for. I cannot remember what it's called now. But anyway, the next one on the list, Seth is going to get the last spot. So we've got two left to go over. Um, yeah, Bradley apparently is a great guy. I'd love to eat that. Craft needs yeah, that would be cool actually. Little boxes and little pinheads. Um, so anyway, my next one, and we're sticking with the Clive Barker theme. Is that Indigo? Indigo. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Is Candyman Farewell to the Flesh. I think this movie is very overlooked. It's streaming on Prime, by the way. If you want to check this one out, it's extremely overlooked and unfortunately passed over by the 2021 movie, which I do like quite a bit. But I'm a big fan of the first Candyman movie, and really I saw Candyman back in the 90s and this one back in the 90s, and really didn't think much of them. But as I got older and I could understand what was going on in the movies a little bit more, I got to really like Candyman a lot more. And I revisited this and the original one about 7 or 8 years ago, and I was like, man, these are actually pretty damn good. And I think Candyman Farewell to the Flesh, great fucking title, by the way, is way underrated. It's a straight to video type movie because I think it was straight to video. Maybe that's Jason Goes to or Jason X, yeah. Deader is the one I was thinking of. Uh, but yeah, I like this movie. It doesn't get enough credit. We actually get to see Candyman's origin story, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because I'll end up spoiling it. The where it takes place in New Orleans, which is just a crazy place in general. And compared to the original movie that takes place in Chicago, Cabrini Green, and all that stuff in the ghetto, you get to see a lot of like not witchcraft, but like voodoo type stuff, and it's just really cool. And Tony Todd, man, he just became like a Candyman. He was great in, but he became a horror icon in this one. He got way more screen time, more to do, and more lines. And there's some great effects in the movie, like he gets his cheek scratched at one point, and the bees start coming out of his cheek. That's really cool looking. There is a carryover character from the first movie who is like a guy who I don't remember the character's name, but he basically is the guy who knows everything about fucking uh, urban legends, and Candyman, of course, is an urban legend. I don't know. I think this one it's on Prime. Like I said, if you have Prime, check it out because it's definitely worth rewatching. And I think it's a very good follow up to the original movie. Plus, they show his origin, which is amazing. And there's a great kind of twist in this movie. You're trying to figure out kind of what's going on, and then you figure out exactly what's happening. And I love the very end of the movie, right before the credits. Right before the credits roll is really cool. I wish Seth was here so he could comment. Yeah, Deader and Hellworld are the two. Those are really bad. And the next one's bad too. Candyman 2 was good. Part 3. So, Candyman 2021 is supposed to be more of a direct sequel, I think, skipping over, Day of the Dead and Farewell to the Flesh. But I don't know, man. Tony Todd doesn't even like the third movie. Like I think there's an interview with him on the I believe it's the Blu-ray for the Scream Factory edition, and he talks about how he kind of wishes that one was never made. I haven't watched that one in since it probably came out. Honestly, I do have it on Blu-ray because I think Vestron released it on Blu-ray for like seven. No, it's like $12. I was like, I can't pass that up. It's Candyman now. I got all of them on Blu-ray. So, but yeah, Candyman, Farewell to the Flesh, great fucking title, and it's a great movie in my opinion, and definitely deserves another look. Seth, how do you feel about Candyman, Farewell to the Flesh?
Well, as you just said, I love the fucking title, the subtitle. It's very Clive Barker,
Yeah,
very Clive Barker. Um, and I think the movie as a whole, like, is it's inferior to the first film in every way. But I've always liked Candyman too. I like the I like the story of it. They, this is I think this is because they don't mention his name in the original film, so this is the first time we know that his name is Daniel Robitaille.
yeah,
Um,
Robotai, yeah.
and we get to see we get to actually see what happened to him. Um, I think it's a pretty fun sequel. I I like it better than the newest sequel that came out like a couple years ago, which I did enjoy that as well. But uh, you know, Candyman 2 is my second favorite in that series, and I think it's decent. I totally agree with you where it is a little underrated. I think it's underrated because it um, can't live up to Bernard Rose's film.
No, and I mean many sequels have trouble living up to the original. But did you know that Farewell to the Flesh is the meaning for carnival, and it kind of goes along with the New Orleans theme, which is great. I thought it was
Yeah,
great, and you're right. It's definitely a Clive Barker thing. I mean, and the Cenobites are always about flesh. Like I was dating a girl one time, and I told her I was like, I miss you. I just want our flesh touching. She's like, that sounds gross. I was like, yeah, that sounds kind of Hellraiser. So,
yeah,
American Psycho 2, don't compare it to the original. Just sit down and have fun. Mila Kunis being obsessed with William Shatner and wanting to get into the FBI was a lot of fun. Yeah, I remember that movie. When I saw that I was coming out, I was like, I gotta see that because American Psycho is my favorite movie of the 2000s, the 2000 to 2009. I haven't seen it since I bought it on VHS, which is that's how old that movie is now. It was back on VHS, but I remember liking it, but it doesn't hold up to the original either, of course. And he's right. Disregard the original movie if you want to try to enjoy that one. Uh, but anyway, our last entry tonight comes to you from Seth's unhealthy obsession of werewolves. It is Howling Five: The Rebirth.
yep. So here's a big here's a big swing I'm taking. I think Howlin' Five: The Rebirth is very much underrated, and I feel, and this is what I'm working on
I
an
agree with
article
you, by the
about.
way. I
I feel like
100% agree with you.
good, yeah. I feel like this sequel is actually damned by its association, not only with the original, which the Joe Dante film, arguably one of the greatest werewolf movies ever made. And
Yeah,
then there's a huge dip in quality beginning with part two. You got part two, which is sleazy. Part three, which is beyond words. Part four, I cut a lot of slack to because I'm a huge fan of the novel, but the acting is terrible in that movie.
yeah.
But when you get to part five, I think part five is way better than people give it credit for. And the thing with the Howlin' Five is that it doesn't have any real connection to Joe Dante's film or any of the previous sequels before it. It doesn't have any real connection to Gary Brandner's trilogy of novels. And I feel like it's a Halloween 3 situation where if this was a standalone werewolf movie with a different title, it might be a little bit more respected. Now there are some flaws with it, right? I mean, it's clearly a product of its budget.
Hmm.
It has a sort of a made for TV feel to it a little bit. There's not really a lot of great scenes of violence except for one scene towards the end, which involves a double murder. Um, but I really love the story of it. I love the setting. I love the. I think it has a very consistent atmosphere, and it's the one that outside of the original, of course, it's the one that I enjoy watching the most, and I really rewatch it quite a bit. I think that there's a lot of good qualities to the Howlin' Five that I think are overlooked because the series as a whole has a reputation of the sequels being terrible. And and of course, yes, it is low budget. Yes, there is a couple of not so great performances in it. Yes, there is. Uh, yes, they don't show the werewolf very much in it, but I think the overall atmosphere of the movie is very consistent from beginning to end. I think it's got a really good story. I like the murder mystery aspect of it. And
Hmm.
again, the setting. I think this
The
is
set's
really
great. Yeah.
unique in the series, and a fairly it's a fairly unique werewolf movie in general. I wish they did show more of the werewolf, but I think overall it's much better than people give it credit for. Um, it's not like a top 10 or whatever werewolf movie, but even if it was a standalone, but I feel like it probably could be better regarded if it didn't have the Howlin' name attached to it. It's a strange hill to die on. I'm going to express my thoughts on this in a lot more detail for this upcoming article that I've been working on. But yeah, the Howlin' Five, not the Howlin' Five, just Howlin' Five. I keep adding the before, even though there's no the in the title. But I think I think it's quite possibly an underrated movie. So making my case on that one.
I think you're 100% right. Honestly, this was probably the second best Howling movie overall, because the Howling is a really good
Yeah,
werewolf movie. Great effects. It's a landmark werewolf movie, and they do take a huge dip in quality, and but they don't just take
yeah,
dips in quality. They get straight up fucking bizarre. Even Howling 4 is weird.
yeah.
They're all so goddamn weird and different. It's like there's no connective tissue to any of these movies, really. I guess there is kind of some from one to two, but the rest, there's nothing connecting any of them. So it's okay. It's almost like an anthology
Well,
Howling or a werewolf series.
to a certain degree, but like part seven, New Moon Line Dancing, they do try to connect four, five, and six. Um,
You're talking about a movie that I've never seen, so I can't comment on that. And a movie I don't think I ever want to watch because of the way you talk. You're subtitling it. New Moon Line Dancing. Come on.
oh my god.
I watched your review that you did on the Howling movies. I saw your ranking. I'll never forget.
Yeah, the Howlin' Seven is easily the worst in the series, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of uh, man. We'll have to discuss that someday. Like
Yeah. I
all
mean,
these,
is it
there's
available
like
to watch?
there's very few actors in that movie. Like it's all like literally the townspeople of where they shot it. So
Yeah.
and then there's a shitload of line dancing. Um, it's got a very terrible transformation, but it there's a character from part four who comes back briefly. There's two characters from part five in it. Um, one of them is recast, of course, and that's the Mary Lou character. But yeah,
Yeah. It's so I just looked it up. It's not streaming anywhere. It's on Sling TV for free, but I don't know what that's about. It
oh,
has
last time I
a
checked, it was on Tubi.
it's on Tubi.
Last time I
I'll check.
checked.
It has a 1.8 rating on IMDb and a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is higher than Friday the 13th Part 3 with its 7%. Just gonna throw that out there. Um,
That's
yeah,
ridiculous.
talking about Howling 7, of course. No, I like Howling 5. You remember a couple years ago when I went through the Howling movies again for the first time? I didn't get to watch 7 because it's not available to buy, I don't think.
Yeah.
So I had to watch what I had. And I agree, Howling 4 needs a Blu ray release. They all need their own individual Blu ray releases. Um, oh, yeah, I think I did see it was on YouTube somewhere. But yeah, I would like to have them all on Blu ray, even the 1.8. But yeah, this is such a bizarre series, though. Like, first five, first six, because Freaks doesn't really, uh, connect anything from the beginning either. They just don't have any connective tissue. So it's like you can't. I don't blame you for saying, "Oh, I know it doesn't connect." It's like, well, they don't. None of them do really until the seventh movie, and then that damn. I don't know what you call that. Is that a remake, requel that came out like 2009 or something like that? New
Oh, that
Moonrise.
fucking Twilight. That
Yeah.
fucking Twilight version.
Doesn't
Reborn.
it take place mostly in a library?
I will say that with that film, the production design is probably better than some of the other sequels. The werewolf designs towards the end are decent, but yeah, the Howlin' Reborn, which is again it's the Twilight version of the Howlin'. Um, I don't really care for that one either.
There is a movie on Tubi called Howling from 2012. Have you seen it?
I have
It's
not.
international. It looks Japanese. There's another movie called The Howling from 2017 on Tubi, directed by Stephen M. Smith. Let's see. They have The Howling 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and New Moon Rising and Reborn. All of them except for the first one are here on Tubi. Tubi is the greatest place to find horror. 100%. Oh my God, they have the house on Elm Lake. That movie is awful. It's okay. Anyway, I could get into. Oh my God, what is this? Unlikely Family. Okay. Anyway, yeah, check it out if you haven't seen it. I agree. We need all of them on Blu-ray. Scream Factory got through the third movie, I think, and then they
Yep.
gave up, which I don't blame them. So
I still really want a Blu-ray of Part Five though, like a nice clean cut because like it kind of drives me nuts a little bit, like watching my DVD of Part Five on my, especially on my big TV. It
yeah, it's
just
very
doesn't
dark
like the
too.
quality just doesn't look great.
Yeah, it's really dark. Well, my
Yeah,
DVD copy on my TV was very dark, especially when they were like, kind of like doing their little searching around the place. But anyway, so
yeah.
that's it. That's the list of our. We got six today. Let's recap real fast. We've got Psycho 3, which is streaming on Peacock. I was going to put where every one of these are streaming, but I only got to this one. And yeah, I think we're both in agreement that this is underseen and pretty much underrated, right?
Yeah.
And that was a yawn from Seth.
Yeah.
I heard you
Wow.
get like getting ready to do it. I'm like, oh, don't look. I don't want to yawn myself.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna happen. It's about to happen. You son of a bitch.
Yeah. It's contagious, man.
I don't understand how that's contagious. That's the weirdest thing.
I
Uh,
know, but it happens.
it does. Poltergeist 2, The Other Side. It may not be underrated in some circles, but since I've joined the horror syndicate, it's not as well liked as I thought it was. Just like the Amityville Horror, people don't seem to care about that much as I do. It's weird. The next one up is Seth's pick, which is Hellraiser Inferno, the fifth entry of the Hellraiser franchise. It's okay. You like this one a lot. When was the last time you watched this one?
Probably a couple months ago.
I've only seen it maybe 3 times, and it's been since 2019 since I watched it last.
I mean, I'm a huge Hellraiser fan, so like I go through the entire franchise a couple times a year, pretty much.
Dude, there's one Hellraiser movie. Well, two Revelations. There's Hellseeker is one that I like. The stars have to align for me to watch that movie, and I like the end of it, but the lead up to the end of it is just so agonizing to watch for me for some reason. Like I've only seen it twice, and
Yeah,
it's like it feels like a task watching that one.
yeah,
Um, and then sticking with Hellraiser, Hellraiser 3 is one of my picks, and you can see the New York skyline from 1992 in the background. And sticking with the Clive Barker verse, Candyman, Farewell to the Flesh. Awesome movie. You get the origin story of Candyman himself. Great story. And I love the end of this movie. I love the very end with the little girl. Seth, you remember what I'm talking about?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was cool.
And Seth's final pick for tonight, Howling 5: The Rebirth. It's actually good. It's the in my opinion, if I made a list of the Howling movies, it'd be my number two.
Yeah, well, it's my second favorite too, and like I always see because I mean another one that because it is kind of liked, and there's another one that's also kind of liked, and that's part six. But I see a lot of people putting part six above part five.
It's
I
because
don't
that's the most
quite
well
get
known
that. Like
sequel,
I
I
like
think.
part six as well, but
I swear to God, Part Six was
yeah,
around more in the early '90s. I saw that all the time on TV. That's why I think people are like, oh yeah, I know that one. So that's one of my favorites.
and it's got cool stuff in it. You know, the vampire. What's his name? Payne. Who was it? Bruce Payne,
I don't
the actor that
remember.
played Harker. And
Honestly,
like
I could.
it's got some really cool stuff in it, but it's also very corny. I think part five, I think, is better quality than all the other sequels.
Yeah, Bruce Payne, you're right. Yeah, 100%
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I need to rewatch it. We're gonna do Howling at some point on Horror Movie Massacre. Go through all the movies. Well, I don't know if we're gonna go through all of them like each week, but we're gonna do something. We're gonna figure something out because I don't think I could sit and talk
We
about marsupials for an hour.
no, we talked about it before, where we would do something similar to what we did with Silent Night, Deadly Night, uh, where we just do the entire franchise in one show.
Yeah, that's right.
Throughout.
Okay, I'm looking at the list for our shows for next year. So after we're done with Halloween, if anybody's interested in knowing, we're doing all the Phantasm movies next month in November. Phantasm on November 8th, Phantasm 2, then Phantasm 3, 4, and 5 on November 22nd, and then the ranking on November 29th. And then American Werewolf in London on December 6th, American Werewolf in Paris on the 13th, Lord of Illusions, Clive Barker film, on the 20th, and the 27th, we're doing a film called Life Force. Seth picked two, I picked two. Uh, and then starting, we're gonna the new year out, we're gonna do a whole episode on the Wreck movies. So I'll finally have to watch those on January 3rd, and then starting January 10th, we're gonna go through the Child's Play movies, not the fucking show, movies. And then once we're done with those, we'll do a ranking, and then starting March 2nd through the beginning of May, we are doing the Hellraiser movies. So there you have it. Brian Enright comes in and drops Predator 2. He's not wrong. Predator 2 is awesome, and it is
Not
underrated.
at all. I wrote an article about it. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. Yeah, it's my favorite Predator sequel.
Yes, Life Force Space Vampires. Mark that on your calendar. Some of the best boobs that ever graced the screen. I'm telling you right now. We did do Silent Night, Deadly Night last year. I will this October this December I'll make sure to post it on the horrorsyndicate.com. That way if anybody missed the episode they could watch it. One of our early episodes of Horror Movie Massacre. We did all of them. Um, I've never seen the
All,
comic
all
book
in
though.
one show.
All in one show. Yep. It was an arduous task, but we also have believed that the Silent Night 2012 quasi remake is probably one of the best of the series. I think we agreed on that, didn't we? Because Silent Night Deadly Night 2 is
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
Lefty, yeah, Brian's uncle, Lefty.
Starting
I
shit.
don't think Texas Chainsaw 2 is underrated, but it's great for sure. That's Seth's favorite of all of those movies. Because like that when I went through my collection today and looked, I saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I was like, the third movie is underrated, right? But then also I thought, well, we just did those over the summer, so they want to do Texas Chainsaw stuff. Yeah. Yeah, Silent Night. We're not going to do Christmas stuff this year. I'll be honest. There's not much horror, Christmas horror I like. There's some of them, like I think one's called Better Watch Out, which is pretty good. Which is like, I think that's the one where it's like Home Alone, kid's an
Yeah,
asshole.
yeah.
Uh, yeah. There's Dial M for Santa or
Yeah,
Dial
I
Code for
hated that
Santa.
game.
Yeah, kid. That took a weird twist. That movie, didn't it? Better Watch Out. Um, there's one called All Through the House. They're making
Oh,
movies based off
I,
of songs now. Maybe we'll talk about that one day. Better Watch Out's a fun movie. Oh, what we could do is do a bonus show like this. Oh, the bonus
yeah,
show. You know, we can do a bonus show on some of our Christmas favorites, and Better Watch Out will be one. You like that? I have that
yeah.
sound.
Did you see the or did yeah? Did you like Christmas Bloody Christmas?
The new movie
Yeah,
that came out last year? Yeah, I liked it. It was cool. It was different.
yeah.
Did
I know
you the
Nate didn't
one
like it,
right?
but yeah, yeah. The Terminator Santa.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun.
yeah. Nate Nate's interesting on what he likes and what he doesn't like. So I
Mm.
thought it was actually pretty damn good. Um, I did watch it when I had a fever too, so maybe that's part of it. Oh, here you go. Here it is. Hold on. I got the soundboard.
That is a
Oh, do you?
freaking. That is.
Yeah, hold on. I don't I don't know where it
bonus
went.
show where you want to make money. Everybody else that makes money to fund themselves is bad.
Did you hear it?
Oh, the bonus
Oh, the
show where
bonus
you want to
show.
make money. Everybody else that makes. Oh, the bonus
Okay.
show where you.
I like David Packman. He's a left wing media guy. Sorry, he makes fun of Donald Trump a lot. It's really funny. Black Christmas, I am not a fan of. I'll be honest with you.
We did we covered Black Christmas last year.
Did we?
Well, actually, it might have been for Discourse, though. I don't remember.
Oh yeah,
But I
I
know we
think it
talked
was.
about
Of course.
we talked about the original, and then we talked about the 06. I never saw the 2019 piece of shit, and I never.
I did. I watched all three of them. The '06 isn't bad. The 2019 is it's awful. Terrifier 3, yes. Uh, how I care about that movie. The Advent Calendars, I've never heard of that one. I'll have to look that up. The Mean One. We just had a review go up on the Mean One this year. Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things is a great sequel to a Christmas Story. Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things is awesome. Have you ever seen that stuff?
Yeah, I saw that. How is it? Wait, how's it a sequel to Christmas Story?
I don't know,
wanna hear
Brian.
that.
That's one of the things I miss about Brian. He
I know
comes
it's
up with
Bob
weird shit
Clark.
off the cuff. Yeah, Brian always comes up with weird shit off the cuff. That's why I miss having him on the show. Yeah, Gremlins is awesome.
Please, Brian.
Yeah,
I
please
love
explain,
I
Brian.
love the theory, so I can't wait to hear about it.
Amityville 2: The Possession is really
Ooh, that
good.
is-
Some people think it's better than the first movie, so it's hard to make that as a underrated movie. Oh, the bonus show.
I like it
Um,
better than the first.
yeah, I think for me, like the first one, just hit me right at the right time, and that was one of my mom's favorites. And I really like some of the performances in that movie because the descent into madness of George Lutz and the way James Brolin portrays it is so good. And I love Margot Kidder in that. I just love Margot Kidder in general. But I want to play another one of these sound bites, but I know I shouldn't. Can you even hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him.
Okay. So I have this.
Truth, essential.
Okay. Um. Anyway, I'm sorry. I can't get enough. Anyway. Yeah. So that we'll do another one of these at some point. Maybe we'll do one a month or something like that. Because Seth brought up another movie, Fright Night Part Two, which I'd love to rewatch because I haven't seen that in a long time. What were the ones I brought up? A
Yes.
couple, didn't I? Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is definitely underrated. Uh, did you have any other ones on your mind before you locked in your final three?
I had a couple. George Romero's Land of the Dead. I feel like Land of the Dead gets shit on way too much, and I think
Yeah.
that's a very epic final chapter to his original saga. Just my
And
personal opinion.
no, it's funny you say that because when I made that graphic the other day that was vote on your favorite George Romero zombie movie of the original three, I debated on putting Land of the Dead in there, but I was like, man, that's not going to get any votes compared to these other three because the other
No.
three, yeah, are so fucking like above and beyond the best zombie movies. Like you could almost make an argument to say that Romero owns the top three spots in zombie movie history, almost.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, and this is the obvious reason. Bob Clark directed both movies. Yeah, I
Well,
forgot about that.
well, Brian, it's a trilogy, right? Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, Black Christmas, and A Christmas Story. It's a trilogy.
It is a trilogy. It's the best Christmas trilogy of all time. Survival of the
Yeah.
Dead is terrible. I hate that that's the last thing we have for him. Man, I like Diary of the Dead, but I'm like the only one. I saw Big Daddy
Yeah.
at the It seemed nice. Eugene something or other.
Oh, yeah. Eugene Clark. I think.
Yeah, Eugene Clark. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny though because like Land of the Dead gets shit on all the time, and I personally don't get it. I mean, I had a blast watching it in the theater.
I
I've
did
watched it
too.
so many times since then.
Dude, from the first frame when it pans down and you see the sign that says eats, you know you're in
Yeah.
for a fun movie, right?
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see, I agree. Diary isn't that bad. I get why it gets hate, but it gets more than it should. Let's play a quick game, Seth. You want to play a quick game?
yeah. But can I address Diary real quick?
Of course. You have 3 seconds. And time. No, go ahead.
the lead chick in that movie and her fucking narration pisses me off so bad. She is such a fucking cunt. I cannot stand that character. I can't stand the way that she narrates. Nothing against the actress, by the way. I'm not calling the actress a C word. I'm not saying she's a terrible person. I'm just saying like the character and the dialogue is just there's something about Diary that grates on my nerves. Like I give Romero credit for experimenting with a different style of filmmaking, kind of diving into the found footage stuff, and there's really cool things in there. And I love Samuel, the Amish guy, in his couple of scenes. But Diary is like I know that Survival is more Looney Tunes, but I kind of prefer Survival over Diary. Just my own personal opinion.
All right, we're going to play a quick game. And anybody who watches this or later or is watching now, play along. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of rapid fire different horror franchises and name the most underrated movie of that franchise. I'll play, Seth will play, and if you're watching, please play along. Okay, so the most underrated from each big horror franchise, Evil Dead. Underrated. Evil Dead 2013. That's the most underrated.
Yeah, 2013. I agree.
Okay. All right. And if anybody's watching, or yeah, I know there's a delay, but let us know what you think is the most underrated Evil Dead movie. Army. No, Brian, it's not. It's not. There's that's a lot of people's favorite. I mean, we did a whole thing where we got hijacked by Army of Darkness fans on one of the voting things a long time ago. Do you remember that, Brian? Yeah, I think you were still around with the Horror Syndicate at the time. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I love Evil Dead 2013. All right, Child's Play, most underrated Child's Play movie.
Curse of Chucky.
Three, I think three is. Why do you think Curse?
Because really, because I still see a lot of people shitting on everything post Seed, and Curse of Chucky is, I think, personally, it's the film that got the series back on track. I think
Absolutely, absolutely.
it goes it goes back to its horror roots, but for some reason, I see quite a bit of not necessarily hate, but just like a lot of negativity towards it. Maybe I'm just in a vacuum there, but I think is Curse of Chucky is my third favorite in that series, and I just don't think it gets respected enough.
I think I'm on the same page, but I still like three a lot. And it could be a nostalgia thing, but I like the aspect of the army base and him, trying to take over the black kid. I can't, I'm gonna be a brother. That whole shit.
Tyler, yeah, I mean
Well,
you're not wrong because Child's Play 3 gets a lot of shit, and it's decent. Um, it's just like that's where it started getting a little too much into the comedy side.
yeah,
And I can't complain though because there's great one-liners in there. But it's like when I showed my kids the first two movies, they were covering their faces. When by the time we got to the third one, they were big smiles on their faces and they were just totally comfortable with it. I grew
yeah,
up with Child's Play 1, 2, and 3 as a kid, especially as a kid who had a My Buddy doll at the time. So I have a nostalgia factor for part three. Um, so you're not wrong. I think it's overhated, and I think it's better than most people give it credit for.
yeah. I think so. And well, I mean, for me, the movies got really bad. I never liked Bride, and no offense, Jordan, I didn't like Seed. I know you think that's underrated. Maybe it is. I never cared for Seed. It was so weird. The whole the Red Man scene was really dumb. Okay, next, we can't do well. We can do Hellraiser. You said Inferno. I said Hellraiser 3. Anybody else out there? What's the most underrated Hellraiser movie to you? And we'll just move on to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Again, three. I'm gonna go with three.
I I would say part three because even though part two is my favorite, I think part two does get a lot of love as well. I think part three, it's unfortunately it's forgettable in most aspects, but I think it's anytime I do watch it, I really enjoy it, and I think it's a really solid film.
Yeah, I agree. Uh, I think most people would answer three because there's a lot of love for one, two, and the remake for sure. I would almost say the beginning could be also underrated. Nobody ever talks about the beginning. They stand on the one, two, and 2003 hill all day long, but nobody really ever talks about the beginning. I think that one's pretty great. We talked about that. We did a whole
I agree.
month long show or whatever. Okay, Scream. I'm gonna say four, even though four is my
Two.
second favorite. You see, it's funny that you say two now because a few months ago, before we started doing the 5-star ratings, we thought two was the clear cut number two, clear cut. And now, after all that, I don't think it is. No comment.
No, it gets. I mean, even like my kids rank it on the ranking list, and I don't like. I was almost ready to put them up for adoption because of it. I mean, Scream 2. I have such strong love for Scream 2, and no one else seems to share my love for that movie. Um,
I
yeah,
think Nick
I
does.
absolutely love. I mean, you don't even like part 2 that much, right?
No, I like part two, but it just it's just something about it. It's like Friday the 13th Part 4. There's something about it that I can't put my finger on that bugs me about it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I do like I like Part 3. I like them all really. I think for the most part Scream doesn't have a weak chapter, but there's something about Part 2 that I'm just like, okay, it's Scream 2. And maybe it's, I've seen it so much, but then again, I've seen the first one so much, and I still love the first one. I know. I know. But yeah, I think 4 is underrated because there's still people who don't like that one. So, all right. What's another friend? Okay, how about this one? Can Universal monsters, any of them, underrated Universal horror movie? It could be anything. Dracula being the starting point, all the way to which is the last? Is it the House of Dracula? Is the last one, I think. Not Abbott and Costello. We're not counting that.
Yeah,
Oh no, because there's the creature movies after that. So Jekyll and Hyde. Okay.
I'm gonna go with Son of Frankenstein because it gets totally overshadowed
Ooh,
by Frankenstein and Bride,
Brian
and
says the
it
Mummy.
is
That's a
just
good
as
pick.
good as those films. I think.
I agree, man. Keep going. Keep going. I fucking love
Yeah,
Son of Frankenstein. I love it.
yeah. I think the Son of Frankenstein was it's funny because it's not James Whale, but in my opinion, it's just as good as James Whale's two Frankenstein films, and I think it makes for a good third chapter. But yeah,
Well, it's just all I gotta say is Basil Rathbone. That's all I'm gonna say about that movie. Basil Rathbone is fucking. Well, no, hold on. Bela Lugosi. Lugosi is fucking superb. That's his best role of all time.
Dude.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. His performance is incredible in that movie. Absolutely.
Okay. What I know, I haven't said the big three yet. What am I missing from horror franchises? Phantasm.
Saw.
We'll do
Oh,
Saw. Let's do
Phantasm.
Phantasm. Yeah.
Part 4, Oblivion.
Yep. Part 4. Absolutely.
I love Part 4. I've always loved Part 4. Um, and I know that they did it. I kind of respect the way that Coscarelli was able to craft a whole story by using footage from
First
some uncut
movie.
footage from the first
Yeah.
one, and it kind of makes it kind of invites you into that world a little bit more because you have the original actors doing these other scenes we haven't seen before from when they were younger, and there's just I love that moment where um, Michael sees what's his name, Jediah Morningside, and he's a very nice old man. So it's
I
great seeing
fucking love
Angus
that.
play like this very nice,
You get to see
polite
Angus
man.
Grimm. Yes. Yes.
Yep. And
I
then
love it.
when he goes through, and then he comes back, and just the way the music swells, and then the way that movie ends, like for a long time, like I had to accept that as being the end of the series, with the whole thing where the ball comes out of Mike's head, and then Reggie's like, "I promise I'll save you," and he just like the ending is such a great cliffhanger. I think Part 4 is highly underrated because I think a lot of people, mostly for the most part, just say 1 and 2 are great, and then after that they go downhill. But I kind of disagree. I'm not huge onto Part 3, but there's
I love
things
Part
I
3.
like about it.
Yeah, I love Part 3.
There's a lot of fun in Part 3. Like I'm not gonna lie,
There's a fucking fun
even
house
Part
in
5,
Part 3. So
even Part 5. even part 5, which is easily the worst in the
Yeah,
series, I
Ravager has
still
its
enjoy.
moments.
But I
Yeah.
think yeah, but I think part 4 is easily my third favorite, and it's I think it's one that's unfortunately dogged on quite a bit. My
Yeah.
personal opinion.
It's way better than most people give it credit for. And I think people may not remember sometimes when they're like, oh, let's rank these Phantasm movies. 1 and 2 are definitely the best. 4, 3, they kind of go in order in a way, but people do forget about the scenes with Morningside and the scenes from the '79 movie that are actually cleaned up really well too. They look
Mhm.
really good. They don't look really old and like stock footagey. I can't wait to get into Phantasm next month. It's gonna be a good month.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just we'll just Friday the 13th, most under the rated Friday the 13th movie. It's got to be 5.
Yeah. Definitely
There's
part
there
5.
without a doubt it's part 5. People just hate A New Beginning because it's not Jason, and that's stupid. Hey, I that's almost mine. Jason Takes Manhattan. Booyah. He loves Jason Takes Manhattan. He wrote a whole article about how much he loved it. Um, but yeah, I like part 5 quite a bit. We go back to the Who Done It. Roy Burns isn't a great character by any means, but I love that they changed the hockey mask and everything, and it's just kind of fun. Jason Goes to Hell. Isn't that Mike Lombardo's favorite? I can't remember. Yeah, it's the middle chapter of the time. And of course they had to course correct after that movie with Jason Lives, the best of the Friday the 13th movies. So
Second best.
yeah. All right. Next, we'll do A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I already said it. Freddy's Revenge is probably most underrated. I would say Dream Master because there are a fair share of people who don't like it, but I can't say that because of my undying love for Dream Master. I think it's Freddy's Revenge.
I'm going with Dream Master because I'm with you. One of the things that you and I have bonded over is our love of Dream Master.
Yeah,
Um, but I still see it shit on quite a bit. It's not necessarily shit on, but like to the point where people blame it for being the downfall of the series. And I think it's the last great movie in the series.
I do too.
Um, again,
100%.
it's it's one of my favorites. It's one that I rewatch often, and I just feel like people blame Dream Master for Freddy becoming a little too comedic, and I'm sorry, fanboys, but that all started with part 3.
What's wrong, Joey?
But no one wants to
Feeling tongue
accept.
tied?
Yeah, no one wants to accept that because part 3 is beloved.
Yeah, part
But I
3 could
think
do no
part
harm.
4 doesn't have as good of a story as part 3. I'll give it that. But yeah, four is fantastic, and I don't know. It just seems like not it doesn't get a lot of love.
I think I go with 2 because 2 people do just shit on 2 completely, and I'm not sure why. Because it's other than the first movie, it's the darkest of the first 5 movies. Um, I think Jesse's a very compelling character.
Yeah,
We got to talk to Mark Patton about his role as Jesse, which was a great conversation. And then I love the idea of Freddy trying to have an avatar in the world, and that scene in Grady's room where Freddy he opens himself up. First of all, that is a effects fucking masterpiece shot. I also love the idea of the glove not being relevant. He's got nails, and forever when I was a kid, I would just tape shit to my fingers and not worry about having a glove because of that. So I love part 2. I think part 2 gets shit on way too much. We posted the poster because we're doing our top 31 posters of all time, and they're like, "Oh, it's a great poster. Too bad it's a shit movie." It's like, come on, man. Is it a shit movie? First of all, Clu Gallagher's in it, and anything with him's not shit. Even the Feast movies are good. Come on.
I'm with you with part 2 because I love part 2 as well. I always have. Um, and part of that is the effects. I mean, that whole thing where he comes out of Jesse's body, just like
Mm-hmm.
the effects, the way it's shot, the way that the music is just so fantastic. I
Yeah,
love it. The
it's
only
really
thing I
good.
don't love about part 2 is how Freddy's
Don't
defeated
pray.
by the power of love.
I mean, to be fair, with that, okay, there was a hit song called "Power of Love" that came out the same year. I'm just saying.
That's the power of love.
Yeah, same year's Back to the Future came out, so maybe that's why. Like, well, that's a great song. Maybe that's how Freddy's defeated this time. Yeah, I
I'm
mean
glad
that's
you
not
picked
great.
up on that reference, by the way.
Yeah, I do love though that poor Kim Myers had to like kiss Mark Patton and Freddy with all that shit on their face. And then she had to get fucking screwed over by Pinhead later on. Uh, I'm a Friday fan for life. Halloween and Freddy have much stronger installments. Uh, that's true. That's just plain and simple true. The power of love is a curious thing. They say all in the but anyway, yeah, there you go. All right, Halloween, most underrated Halloween movie. This is going to be interesting. Um
So easy.
Halloween 3,
Part 3.
right? Yeah, I
Halloween
mean,
3.
okay, but let's take the easiness out of the equation. No Halloween 3. That doesn't count.
Oh, okay.
You can't. It's got to be
Okay.
within the Michael
You want to
Myers.
talk about the Myers films?
Yeah, the only Myers
Okay.
films. Halloween 3 is obviously easy.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Part 6, Curse of Michael Myers.
Yes.
Not a
Okay,
perfect movie.
No.
Either cut is perfect. But I think what they do right is the atmosphere, the overall look and feel of them, of either cut. I liked Paul Rudd as Tommy. I liked Marianne Hagen as Kara Strode.
Yeah.
And yes, it does have a lot of weird things in there. But another cast member I love is actually I can't say this enough, but I think George Wilbur's performance as Michael is really good in this, and he finally got justice with a mask that actually looked great. I think
The mask was great.
Part
yes.
6 is one of my favorite masks in the series. So Part 6, Curse of Michael Myers, whether theatrical or producer's cut, neither are perfect, but I still have a lot of fun with them. I think they're fun watches, and despite
like
all
the
this sort of
Halloween 6 just for potential, not for finished product. I mean, it does have a lot of potential. There's a lot of good things that could have happened in this movie, and I love it. And it just didn't come out the greatest, but I still love it.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it had the unfortunate task of following up what the creators of Part 5 set up without any
What a
idea
mess.
of how they wanted to explore it. So,
Okay, last one. Okay, last one. I just remembered it. There's The Omen, but we don't ever talk about The Omen, so I don't know if you've even seen all of the Omen movies. The Exorcist, most underrated Exorcist movie. Because you know what I'm gonna say. The Heretic.
you know what I'm going to say?
Well, you're gonna say 3, but is that underrated? Because that's one of the better movies, if not the best. I mean, there are a lot of people who say 3 is their favorite.
Well, and that's exactly why I'm. Well, I mean, because like, I don't know. I guess you're right in that, but I mean, if I can't say 3, I don't know what to choose because I don't care
None of
the
them.
rest this much.
You can say 3. I mean, you can
But,
say
I mean,
3 because other people are saying 3.
I mean, the
Oh, hot take
I
right
mean,
there.
because I mean, I have a strange thing with the Exorcist films is that I don't overly love the original.
Yeah.
I think it's a good film. I watch it maybe once every 5 years. But The Exorcist 3, I can just throw on anytime. I think it's a
Mhm.
better and more engaging movie for me. I like the story better, I like the characters better, I like the scares better. It's just much more compelling of a film. The power of The Exorcist 3 compels me. But
Not the power of love.
I also feel like it's hard to say that it's underrated because it does get a lot of love. So I don't know.
All right, I forgot one that you mentioned. Let's go ahead and do the Saw movies. It's hard for me to say because they kind of bleed together after about three for me. But I'm gonna throw because I think Saw 10 is really good. But I also think Saw 1 and 2 are very good, and then I think 4 is good, and I love 3. So I'm gonna say Jigsaw is kind of underrated but it's kind of not great at the same time because like at what point was he able John Kramer to do all that shit? But I like the movie overall. What say you?
I would go Saw 6. Again, a lot of people have that problem, and it's not because of the audience; it's because of the films themselves. Where a lot of the films, especially the middle films, do tend to bleed together.
Yeah.
Now, as a fan of the Saw franchise, I've seen them all to where I know
Yeah.
how to
Now, as a
distinct
fan
each
of the
one of
Saw
them.
franchise,
Sorry.
Oh, okay,
Go ahead.
but and a lot of people like I'm a fan of the Hoffman character, and I know a lot of fans of Saw aren't, but like I love Part 6 for not only does it have a great story with the whole healthcare people, but I
Yeah.
think it's also the best of the Hoffman era of the Saw films. Um, and just like his back and forth with Jill Tuck and just the way the film ends. I mean, with her putting the reverse bear trap on him, and he gets out just enough time to put the to go up against like the bars. So the
Hmm.
bear trap opens like a little bit, and then he rips it off, and like the final shot of the movie is him on his knees, screaming up in the air with half his face torn. I think it's great. So I would say Saw 6 mainly because I think there's a lot of people who don't kind of care for the series after part three, and especially the middle section, which it, sometimes it can be hard to kind of tell them apart. And there's a lot of people who don't like Hoffman, but I think Saw 6 is really good.
Yeah. And we will cover the Saw movies at some point in the future. Not sure when, but we will. Real fast, I do want to, if it's okay with everyone, before we get going, I want to take quick mention of our website that we do a lot of content on, thehorrorsyndicate.com. This is what it looks like. And it's, well, when it pops up, it'll pop up in a second. Um, yeah, here it is. This is what it looks like. We do articles constantly. And the latest article, obviously, is my Rayzor Hell on Earth that inspired this episode. We got a review for a movie called Natty Knox, which is new. I did top 25 horror films of 2010 to 2019. Got a lot of new content. This was from our show this past week. There's all kinds of good stuff. Please check out thehorrorsyndicate.com. There's my Return of the Living Dead 3, which we didn't really get into. This movie's, I didn't like this movie. Like Morgan thought it was really good. I didn't care for it. And I took down our Horror Syndicate Twitter because X is stupid. But yeah, we do a lot of stuff. There's the mean one that I haven't seen yet. One of our other people watched it. Uh, I re-ranked the Friday the 13th movies. Seth did a great article trying to break down the Halloween being bought out or staying with or whatever it is. Yeah, just a lot of cool stuff. Seth ranked the. So we do a lot of rankings, don't we, Seth?
Yeah.
So yeah, check out thehorrorsyndicate.com. There's like 7 years of stuff on there. Slaughterhouse, how about that? Reviews. I reviewed The Exorcist because I think it's better than what people give it credit for. Yeah, check it out. Oh, I can't wait to see that. Thanksgiving. That looks fun. And don't
Yeah.
forget, of course, the Facebook page. We are doing the 5-star reviews on the Halloween movies, and we will get back to doing by year after Halloween's over. Final Destination, Toxic Avenger. First of all, I haven't seen. I've only seen the first one. Not my cup of tea. Let's see. Bloodline's most underrated. There's Nothing to Kill. That's a good one. It's I don't know. I don't like the Final Destination movies either. Hellraiser 3 is very bad. I love Hellraiser 3. I just watched Five Nights at Freddy's. It's a good kids movie, but not a terrible, but a terrible horror movie. Yeah, my daughter wants to watch that. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey was awful. Did you watch that
It's a
one?
terrible movie.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
won't watch
fucking
that.
god, it pissed me off. Like I was hoping for at least like a so bad it's good type of like
Mm.
cheesy fun movie, but it just made me mad with I ranted about it on my Facebook page, but yeah. Terrible movie.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the Wrong Turn series either. I've only seen a couple of those myself. I'm
I
not a
would
big
say
fan
part
of
three is underrated.
part three. I think part two is really that's where I really was like, I don't know, man. This series is gonna be aimless. The you know what? No, you know which one's underrated? The newest Wrong
Okay.
Turn.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
shouldn't be called Wrong Turn
Yeah.
at all. It's really
Nope.
fucking good.
Nope.
It should. What do you say? It should be called the Community or something like
The
that.
Foundation.
Foundation. Yeah, that
The
movie's
Foundation.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it wasn't called Wrong Turn, and there's a problem with horror movies being called things they shouldn't be called. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch shouldn't have been called Halloween 3. The remake of Wrong Turn shouldn't be called Wrong Turn. Had nothing to do with what happens in the other Wrong Turn movies. There's a lot of movies like this, unfortunately.
Child's Play 2019. It shouldn't have had any resemblance to Chucky. I think it could have been. I think it's a fine horror film in and of itself. It had nothing to do with Child's Play. Like if it was a mistake calling Child's Play, but then again, if it wasn't called Child's Play, I probably wouldn't have watched it. But still,
So, why do you disagree with the Halloween 3 thing? Because if it wasn't called Halloween 3, it would have been hated for so many years. Plain and simple. I know there are people who probably liked it coming out of the theater in 1982, but when I started the Horror Syndicate in 2016, everyone but like the people within the Horror Syndicate hated Halloween 3. People are finally coming around to Halloween 3, but if it was just Season of the Witch, I think it would have done fine. It's a great movie on its own. Conal Cochran is one of the best horror villains, especially of the 80s. But I don't. I think if you take Halloween 3 off, it would have done much better. That's just my opinion. Willy's Wonderland. Willy's Wonderland's awesome. I'm just saying Nicolas Cage is great in that movie. I don't think it should have been called Season of the Witch. Well, yeah, maybe not Season of the Witch, but his movie wasn't well known from the 1970s. To be fair, I mean, not to mention there's another movie called Season of the Witch that has Anakin Skywalker in it, I believe, and maybe Nicolas Cage. So I don't know. It could have been called anything. Conal Cochran. It should have been Shamrocked. That would have been the title of it. If it was made in the late 1990s. Anyway, that's it. We're gonna get going for the night. It's almost been 2 hours. A marathon episode. We usually only go for about an hour or so. Remember, Tuesday, we're not doing a show on Wednesday. Tuesday, we are doing our Halloween franchise rankings, all 13 movies, including Halloween 3, because we do love Halloween 3. And we did shows on every Halloween movie, with the exception of Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2, and I think H2 and Resurrection shared an episode too, right?
no, they were separate. I think
They were separate. We talked about Resurrection for one episode. I almost
I'm
fainted.
pretty
Just now.
sure. I mean, I could go on like a half hour, 45-minute rant alone.
I know,
about
I know,
Halloween
and yes,
Resurrection,
we
so.
know the idea of what they were trying to do with Halloween movies. Now go watch 2000 classic Valentine. No, actually, I was messaged on the Horror Syndicate's Facebook page that we need to talk about the Wes Craven presents Dracula movies because they're good. Dracula 2000 is fine, but the other two are not good. They are really, in my opinion, giant piles of crap. You like them?
I own them. I own them. I kind of like them.
I own them too. Doesn't mean I like them. Yeah, yeah, yep. Dracula 2000 starring Leonidas. Yep. Tonight we dine in hell. Uh, those movies. Yeah, I didn't think they were any good at all. I bought the 2 pack for like $10 on Blu-ray when Blu-ray was pretty new. I'm like, oh, cool. You know, 2 movies for $10, and they're Dracula movies. Or vampire movies. I like those, and I don't know that I'll ever watch them again. I think I even got digital copies of them in that pack, and because I don't think I'll ever watch them again. And he wants us to do a whole show on this. Like, I'll tell you what. I'll see if Nathan Thomas Milliner will do a whole show on those 2 movies. Probably not going to happen. Ginger Snaps 2 and 3.
Ginger Snaps 2 is on my list of underrated.
Queen of the Damned had a better soundtrack, in my opinion. I like Dracula 2002 and 3. Not great. But I probably will rewatch them, but I don't expect to change my mind. Yeah, well, you never know. I change my mind every now and again, so we'll see. All right, Seth. Any final words? Let's recap again, since it's been like an hour since we're going to finish. Psycho 3 underrated. Poltergeist 2 underrated. Hellraiser Inferno to Seth underrated. Hellraiser 3 to me underrated. Candyman Farewell to the Flesh underrated. And Howling 5 to both of us underrated. So, right?
I'm glad we can at least agree on Halloween 5.
And Farewell to the Flesh. And Psycho 3.
Mm-hmm.
I do see your point with
yeah, but mostly but mostly with Howlin' 5, because Howlin' has the franchise has a reputation, so there's not many people that I get to be on my side.
I'm on your side, buddy. So anyway, Tuesday, about 9 p.m. Central, 10 o'clock Eastern, our Halloween ranking show. Look forward to that. Seth is going to dress up as Jamie Lloyd from Halloween 5 in a princess costume. I want to thank you ahead of time, Seth, for doing that. And I'm going to dress up as Billy
Actually,
the
I
Pirate.
get to the Cookie Woman.
Oh, the Cookie Woman. Okay. So then I should dress up as Tina. Actually, maybe I'll dress up like Loomis and have like a little doll and shake it around. He killed you. He made you stab your stepmother with some scissors. Yeah. Like, I'm surprised with that scene when the doctor was trying to give her a fucking tracheotomy and cut her throat open. Like, I'm surprised Loomis didn't just sit there and watch, like, yes, keep going. As much of a madman he was. Anyway, fun time tonight, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you on Tuesday night. I think, I'm not 100% sure if Discourse is coming back the following Sunday after Halloween or at all. I have no clue what's happening with Discourse. Jared is very busy with his personal life and professional life. Nathan has been doing a play, and he really hasn't said much about coming back. So we'll see. We might be just down to the Horror Syndicate's Horror Movie Massacre, which cool. I'd like to do more shows. Maybe we'll resurrect Brian and bring him back, and he can host a show, and we'll have a good time. Because Brian always, yeah, he was good for some good laughs, especially You get Brian Enright and Mike Lombardo in a room together, you know you're going to laugh. So, especially what was that movie, Brian? If you're on watching Boneyard, the you can't show him the movie poster for Boneyard without him dying laughing. Like Mike brought it up one time in one of the shows, and Brian could not compose himself because every time he looked at it, he started laughing his ass off. So, yeah. I do miss the Horror Syndicate Live shows. Those were fun times. I miss Jared, for God's
Yeah,
sake.
you guys had a good dynamic.
It was probably the three of them, and then just me, kind of, because apparently nobody likes me. You remember that one time somebody said, I was like, "What can we do better? Like find a better host." I'm like, "Ouch." But I don't think it was really a poke at me. It's just like somebody famous or whatever like gives a shit about that. We're horror fans, you know. But my number one thing about this whole Horror Syndicate thing is I love to have an interactive Facebook page and show where people can talk to us and we can talk to them and get to know people. That's fun. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the things I like about this. So and also talking about horror. But anyway, everyone have a great weekend. Have a safe weekend. This is probably the Halloween weekend. So be safe out there. Hopefully we'll see you again on Tuesday. Any final words, Seth?
See you next Tuesday. Evil dies tonight.
It certainly does.